Are you thinking about saving some money in your taxes, or do you want to overpay your taxes? The IRS gives you a top 10 list every year. We're going to go into that right now. Hey there, my name is Kenner French. We're going to be talking about the 2024 top 10 IRS tax tips, hopefully in an effort to lower your tax liability, because you're an entrepreneur and you want to make sure that you're lowering your biggest expense, and that being taxes. Once again, Kenner French with VastSolutionsGroup.com. This is the Vast Vault. We're unlocking secrets to help entrepreneurs. And hopefully you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about tax season now and ways to lower the tax liability. Let's get right to it. Top 10 tax tips as outlined by the IRS for 2024. Organize. Let's get organized. I know it's something you don't like to do as an entrepreneur. You got a lot of stuff going on, but man, a little bit of time spent getting organized can help you that much more. You know, getting all your papers in order, getting all your, your records, your canceled checks, your receipts, everything in one spot makes it so much more simple. Also, by the way, it makes a lot of sense if you want to, if you have an LLC, have a credit card or an ATM card, or whatever the case is connected to that LLC, it makes it so much nicer. If you're doing it the right way, using that credit card or that card for that specific LLC or that enterprise, man, it makes life easy, because then everything's done right. They can't, if you get sued, they can't pierce the veil. Everything's on one, one credit card, one statement, makes it a lot more simple. Anyway, you get it. Just remember to include the income, the deduction, tax credit items, etc. on the previous year as well. Have everything organized. It'll make it so much easier. Plus, who knows, maybe you can save some money, 50,000, 75,000. I don't know what the number is, but it's a number, I'm sure, right? If you're more organized. Reporting of income. You got to do that. Number 2, gather all of your W-2 forms, your wages, your tax statements, your 1099 income statements, whatever the case is. If you report all your income, it'll make it that much easier. And if you do forget, the IRS potentially could come after you. That's when Uncle Sam will come after you if you don't report all your income. And what I would say, by the way, let me remind you, this, I'm talking on behalf of, some of our clients and in general. So I understand what you're going through, by the way. You don't want to get organized. You don't want to report all that stuff. But man, it really makes a lot of sense. Don't try to go against the IRS. They will win. But what I would say is, they're a service organization. They're a resource. We'll get into a little bit. Well, let's get into it right now, as a matter of fact. Let's, might as well talk about it. They have a great website, believe it or not. I know that sounds crazy. They've updated it. It's at www.irs.gov. It's a great resource. So use them as a resource. That I'm going to mention that at least a few times probably in this episode. You can download, and print tax forms, access tax law information and changes, because, changes are always occurring. You know how that goes, and that's a valuable resource. And then number 4, use free file. Most of the people listening to this episode are probably pretty well heeled, don't have a lot. They have a lot of dough, probably a lot of dough, and don't have, they don't have the opportunity of being able to use the IRS free file, because it's usually for lower income people, lower than, some of the people who would be listening to this podcast episode. But what I would say is you get brand name tax software free of charge at www.irs.gov. Hey, maybe it's worth your time to go check it out, by the way. Maybe you can use the free file system, or maybe one of your children can, who's just getting started in business. Finally, number 5. Let's get into number 5. Understand your filing options. There's a few options for filing your return. You could, choose to file your taxes yourself or go to a preparer. Either way. But what I would say is, based on the scenario, even if you don't don't talk to a tax provider or don't have them do your taxes, I would say at least get one consultation a year. Okay. So understand your filing options. Number 6, try e-file. E-filing represents a very easy and a convenient method of filing your taxes. Errors are reduced generally, and refunds are returned a lot faster than mailed documents. Now, last year, by the way, more than 80%, approximately 80% of taxpayers used the IRS e-file. Now, in this case, go with the herd, not against the herd. Getting answers to your questions, visit the Interactive Tax Assistant tool on the IRS website, again at www.irs.gov. It's pretty good. It's pretty robust. I would say it's at least worth looking at, and maybe you could get some answers to some questions if you're worried about the expense of a tax provider. By the way, I would say some tax providers are worth their weight in gold, truly. Now, use direct deposit. If you receive a refund, the direct deposit option will allow for a faster return, and it may decrease chances of theft. When you enter information for this option, take time to double check your bank account number. You make sure that you're doing it the right way and not making an error on that direct deposit. Checking out, again, I said I was going to refer to the website a little bit, www.irs.gov, publication 17. Your federal income tax, it's basically a resource that a lot of people don't think about going to, but take a look at it, at least get acquainted with it. You might find some information there that would truly save some taxes for you. And again, taxes are going to always be your biggest expense, or at least generally. And if you know a little bit more about taxes than the next Joe, you might be able to save more money than Joe. Finally, double check your return. Even if you're doing them, even if someone else is doing them, double check them. Sure, sometimes the tax returns might be pretty complex, but sometimes you might be able to learn, and you might be able to shed some light on something that was missed. Plus, who knows, maybe they spelled your name wrong, whatever the case is. So double check your return. Now, what I would say is, kind of in closing, if you have any questions, obviously what I would say, I'd love it if you came to us, but also what I would say is go to your tax provider, because they know your situation better than anyone. If they're not communicating with you, if they're not being responsive, that's different. Please then reach out to us. But what I would say is go to your tax provider. They probably know your situation better than anyone. We'd love to help you if there is a situation where you do need some help. Once again, my name is Kenner French with VastSolutionsGroup.com, and you've been listening to the Vast Vault. We're entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs to better their situation. Thank you very much for listening to this episode, and please stay tuned for the next episode.